I'm Christine Mantilla, and this is Connections. Join me as we talk with Luis Mier. I know that I said that wrong. Luis Mier. Just join me as we talk with Luis. Join me as we talk with Luis Mier from OC Biz. He's a bail bondsman, real estate agent, notary, transplant recipient, making business all about connections. Join me as we talk with Luis Mier with OC Biz. The 3 C's that we'll learn today are connections, collaboration, and community. And that's what Luis is all about. From Mexico to Orange County, California, living a blessed life, receiving the ultimate gift, and being here to share his story. Let's meet Luis. Connections. Well, we're going to meet my connection, Luis. Luis, pronounce your last name. Wait.
Mier.
Say that again.
Mier.
No, it's not. How many?
Yes, it is. How is okay? What do you think it was?
Mier.
No,
Right?
all through school, they call me Oscar Mier.
Oh well, see, look at it. I'm not far off.
But it's not Mier. It's Mier. There's supposed to be actually a little accent point on top of the E. Like, you know how do you say Wednesday in Spanish?
Yeah, you're.
How do you say it? You don't know how to say it?
No, I don't remember.
Miércoles. So mine's Mier. Mier.
Okay.
You thought I was playing around, huh?
Yeah, no, I thought you were just being extra.
No, it's Mier. Mier. Mier.
I'm Christine Mantilla, and this is Connections. We are meeting my connection, Luis Mier.
There you go.
All right, now you do it because you say it better.
Mier.
What is that?
Supposed to be German. So there's some German guy hooked up with one of my great grandmas or something like that. But I'm Mexican as 100%. I actually did the ancestry thing.
Yeah.
And I'm actually Spanish some percent, and then obviously Mexican answer. But it's just more Spanish. Of course, we got conquered by the Spaniards, so why not?
Did you get any German?
No, very little. Some Portuguese, of course, a little bit of African at the end. It was weird.
So your grandma just took the last name?
I guess so.
Nice. So who are you?
Who am I? I'm just like you. I'm an Orange County connector. I connect people. I've been connecting people for now, I'm going to say about 20 years. Entrepreneur here in Orange County that started my career. Kind of weird how I started my career. Out of high school, my first job I was a banker at a bank. What? And there was this guy that would come in every Friday and make some nice deposits. I'm talking about when I graduated high school. I'm talking about 1990.
Okay.
I'm going to date myself here. So 1990, this guy every Friday for sure would deposit $25,000 to $50,000, and I was the merchant teller at it doesn't even exist anymore, but it used to be called First Interstate Bank. Okay. And I was a merchant teller, and so I would take his deposit. And then one day I asked him, I go, "Hey, dude, what do you do?" And he's like, "Well, I bail people out of jail." Bail people out of jail? Yeah. He goes, "I get people out of jail." Mind you that I was working full time and going to school, and I actually wanted to be a cop. Didn't even want to be in the legal field. And I was studying, obviously, at community college to move on, and after my 2 years to do something else and become a cop. But funny thing is, I got laid off from that bank. But yeah, I was a student at San Ana College, criminal justice. I was thinking of being a cop, thinking of being a police officer. And but in the meantime, I was working full time at First Interstate Bank, where I started as a teller. Then I moved up to merchant teller, and that's where I met this guy that would come in every Friday and make some huge deposits, $25,000 to $50,000 back like in 1990 when I graduated, when first year of college, when I graduated from high school. And I asked him, I go, hey, what do you do? He's like, I'm a bail bondsman. I'm like, I have no idea what that is. But anyways, he says, hey, if you ever need a job, look me up. And like I said, like about maybe a month after I asked him that, all the people that were full-time employees became part-time employees, and I started looking for a job. So when I started looking for a job, didn't even call him. Back in the day, you used to get the newspaper, register, and you start looking for jobs, and you start circling jobs. And one of the ones that I circled said bail bondsman needed in Santa Ana, and that clicked me. So I circled that one, and I called, and it was the same guy.
No.
Yeah. But here's the funny thing. It was the same guy, and he shared an office. It was a weird setup with this bail bond company. It's actually the oldest bail bondsman in Orange County. He's still around. They had a split office. So this office, the guy that I'm talking about, worked on one side of the office. There was another bail agent on the other side of the office. So if you walked in, you could do business on the left or you could do business on the right. The one from the bank was on the right. The one that actually was looking for somebody to fill the position was on the left. So when I walked in, he recognized me. He thought I was there for a job for him. I was there for a job for the other guy. It was a weird setup. And actually they got rid of that setup because what ended up happening is they purchased this building together, two bail bondsmen, and they would do is they would rotate the clients. Monday was one side, Tuesday was the other side, and so forth. It was a weird setup. They eventually ended up selling to one of them. The other guy got bought out. So now anybody that walks in is one guy. But anyways, interviewed with that guy on this side. His name is Bob Drake. He's still around. One of the oldest bail bondsmen in Orange County. And the one that my buddy was working for, that's Don's Bail Bonds. Also one of the oldest bail bondsmen in Orange County. So I got a job with Bob Drake. Hired me.
Pretty neat.
Minimum wage.
What's that? Can I ask?
Back in that day, what? $8, $6, whatever. I don't even remember how much it was. Minimum wage. And he said, if you work out and you understand the bail business, then once you get your bail license, you'll get a raise. Once you get your notary license, you'll get a raise. So I was like, okay, I just needed a job at that point. I was actually already married, no kids. So I needed a job. And I was in the process of that at that point when I was working at the bank, purchasing my first home back in the day. This is 1990, $150,000, I think is what the house was selling for in
Nice.
30 years ago in Orange County.
Yeah, nice.
2-bedroom, 1-bath house with the 2-car garage. It was like 149 or something like that. That was the first house that I was looking to buy. So my salary at the bank would actually be enough to cover that. And the ex-wife was studying to be a dental hygienist, dental assistant. So I was kind of the one that was bringing in the money. Okay. Long story short, I start working for Bob Drake. I start learning from him. He's one of my mentors. And next thing you know, I pass my notary license. I get a raise. I pass my bail bond license. I get a raise. And then I started noticing something very interesting. The bail bond business has always been run by a bunch of rich Jewish guys.
All right.
Okay, I'm not racist or anything, but this is what it is. Back in the day, 1990s, there was really no Hispanics in the bail bond business. Of course, there were clients, but there was no bail bondsman there. So I said to Bob Drake, how come you haven't tapped into the Hispanic market? Now I know with OC Biz that, for example, nowadays, Santa Ana is 84% Hispanic. So even then, I asked this guy, I go, why don't we tap into that business, that side of the business? And he's like, yeah. He goes, you speak Spanish? Sure. What can we do? I said, why don't we put an ad in all these little newspapers? There was still newspapers back then. El Rumores. It was called Farandula. It was called Miniondas, like local newspapers that you would grab and it had classifieds and had little, uh, little ads about businesses and stuff like that. So I put my business, our business, it was his, in all these ads. Well, I had a really nice salary from Mr. Bob Drake. I was making really good money for being a couple of years in the bail bond business. But guess what? My bail bond business on the Hispanic side
Yeah.
was almost twice as much as we were writing before.
No.
And I was getting a percentage of what we were writing. But everybody was starting to recognize me as the bail bond guy that spoke Spanish in Santa Ana.
Mm-hmm.
So worked for him for a couple of years. Really nice guy. Took well care of me. Mr. Bob Drake's one of my really good mentors and the one that got me into this business. Gave me my 2 weeks vacation twice a year. I could use this timeshare wherever I wanted. Gave me insurance. That's when we got insurance. That's when me and my ex-wife decided to have kids. So it was a really good stepping stone to getting into that business. So I started learning the business. Next thing I know, I'm running the business. I'm the manager, and I'm not seeing Bob Drake as much as I would see him before because he's like, oh, this guy's got it. He's got it. And at one point, it hit me where I said, this guy calls me every year, like around November, and he goes to Hawaii for 3 weeks. And he calls me every couple of days and says, how much money did we make today? Make sure you make that deposit and put that in your bank account. And I'm like, I want to be that guy.
Yeah.
I want to be that guy that is in Hawaii with his kids, living it up, and have a secretary or somebody in the office run my spot. But I keep an eye on it.
Mm-hmm.
So that was in the back of my head. Here's the funny part. I quit him and I go back into banking. I go into the mortgage business. I was in the mortgage business for like 6 months.
Mm-hmm.
Hated it. But I still had a bail license. Guess who called me? The guy on the other side.
Oh, no.
And he said, oh, I heard you got fired. I'm like, no, I didn't get fired. I left because I got back into the mortgage business because a friend of mine said, hey, let's get into the mortgage business. Da, da, da. You can do your bail bond thing on the side. I'm like, okay. So I go work the mortgage business. And the guy on the other side calls me and says, you want to come work for me? I'm like, yeah. And I'm like, how much? He's like, how much was he paying you? This much? I'll double that.
Wow.
So I worked for that guy. I'm going to say like another 5 years, 4 years. 4 years go by. I learned the bail business a different way. The way we wrote bail with Bob Drake, it was very like, do they have the money? Are they secure? Is it a good bond? We're not taking any payments. Solid bonds. If it wasn't solid, we wouldn't write it. I worked for the other side. The other side be like, oh, it's a $10,000 bond. They got $100, put $100 down. They can pay $100 a month. So I started learning the business the other way. No security, no collateral, different ways. So it was a great experience because I got to find out how you write really clean bail and how you write creative bail.
Right.
Creative
bail. Okay.
So then I worked for him for like another 4 years. And then I don't know if you're familiar with basketball, but remember when Shaq was brought in from the Lakers? The Lakers wined and dined him. Bob Drake called me and said, hey, how you doing over there? I'm like, I'm doing great, man. Let's have dinner. Let's do this. Let me take you out. Let me take you this. He wined and dined me again to get me back.
You were sought after. Okay.
Yes. So I went back, and then I was the office manager. Didn't really need anything from him. I was writing everything that I could do. And then I had to learn on the other side how to write creative bail. And we were writing creative bail for him. And as long as payments were coming in, there was no issues, it was good stuff. So after maybe a year and a half or so, in between all this, I was able to get my real estate license. And I got my real estate license because I actually flipped some homes. I wasn't getting my real estate license for me. to sell homes. But I figured, hey, if I can sell them, perfect. Not. I actually purchased some homes, flipped them, moved out of that one house I told you, which was a 2-bedroom, 1-bath. Went from a 2-bedroom, 1-bath to a 4-bedroom, 2-bath. Sold that and ended up in the city of Fountain Valley with a 6-bedroom, 4-bath, 3,000 square foot home with a pool and the whole thing.
And by this point, did you have your
By
one,
this point, I was still with Bob Drake.
no, children wise at home?
I already had my kids. Yes,
Okay.
they were kindergarten and so forth. They were little. They were little. But I was, I was
Now you
good
with
salary with Bob Drake, being taken care of. Everything was cool. I tell the ex-wife, I'm gonna leave him. He's like, what? She's like, you can't leave. You're making like 10 grand a month from this guy. And this is, like I said, in 2000. Got my real estate license, flipped from home, sold my house, bought another one, so forth. I said, I ended up with this big home in Fountain Valley. People would come over to my house and be like, this guy's selling drugs. Seriously. There was a couple of people that came in my house and they're like, you're selling drugs, huh? I'm like, no, I'm a bail bondsman. Oh, okay, whatever that is, but something's crooked here. I know. It's all legit. It's all legit. Probably the only, no, I was the only Hispanic on my block in Fountain Valley. So then after that, I purchased another home in Fountain Valley. That was fun. Here's the funny part. Purchased another home in Fountain Valley. That was my rental, smaller home. And I was renting that out to white people, which is kind of weird because it's the other way around usually, right? I'm not being racist. I'm just saying the way it is.
For the Mexican? Okay.
A Mexican
No, this
guy
is not about race.
renting out a home in Fountain Valley to white guys. Okay, so I had that.
That's big at that time.
That's big at that time. And at that point, I was ready to say, see you later, Mr. Bob Drake. I started looking for an office because back in the day, the one thing that you had to be in was the yellow pages.
Ah, yes.
Yellow pages was the big thing. I started planning, getting everything together, looking for an office space. I ended up getting office space 3 doors down from Bob Drake.
No.
I was able to negotiate that office. I actually paid the guy 1 year in advance, paid him the rent 1 year in advance, and I dropped $20,000 on yellow page ads in Orange County.
Okay, that's big too at that time. And
at that time, yeah. But here was the other thing. I had a lot of the ads in Spanish that I went ahead and purchased them with my phone number on them, not his phone number on them, because there was no who was going to answer his phone calls for him in Spanish. And I left in good terms with both of the bail bondsmen. They actually would call me, and whenever they needed help on a Spanish call or on a big bond, I mean, he would call me, hey, I have $1 million bond. Can you help me? But it's in Spanish. And we would split it. We would, whatever the profit was, we would get 50% out of it. Mm-hmm. Long story short, I leave Bob Drake. I'm making $5,000 a month from him salary-wise, plus my commission on anything that comes in, which was an average of about 3 to 6 to 7,000 on commission. I open up my doors, 3 doors down. The first day, I write a bond that I make $5,000 in 1 day. And I was making $5,000 in 30 days with him. So I was like, okay, let's go. The big thing was, anytime you guys are in business or you're going to start a business, the most important thing is it's you. You are the business, not till a point where you can let the business run by itself. Because I was dropping the girls off at preschool, get into the office at 9 o'clock, leaving the office just to go pick them up from the daycare, drop them off at the house. Once mom got back from her classes and so forth that she was studying to become a dental hygienist, drop them off, head back to the office. I was the one in charge, and that was for at least a couple of years.
Yeah.
After a while, I got Santa Ana High School student to come in and help me in the evenings. So I was able to, at 4 o'clock, leave, have her in charge. If she got a call or had a bond that came in, I would come back into the office to handle it. She was there from 4 to 9. Got to a point where I had a secretary in the morning, had a secretary at night. I wouldn't have to come to the office, a la Bob Drake, and they would handle it. And I would just run to the jails and drop bonds off, run to the courts, or whatever I had to do. So it was a lot of running around, a lot of different hours, odd hours. Phone sometimes, wouldn't stop ringing, which was really good. Averaging anywhere between, I'm going to say, 30 to 40 bonds a month.
That's good.
Not bad. With an average bond, 30 to 40 bonds, with an average bond, you're making about $2,000 on each bond.
Now, did you continue that advertisement like you had done pre-opening your doors? Or
Yes.
Okay.
I continued that advertising because that was my revenue for the Hispanic side. And then once you start to get connected, that's when I started to find out, this, Christine, that I'm very big into connections, collaborations, and community. So even back in the day, I started supporting local events at schools at my alma mater, Santa Ana High School. I would support the band. I would support the soccer team. I would support the baseball team. Anytime there was a need in the community, I wanted to have my name out there. So hopefully not, but just in case anybody needed any kind of services, at that point, I had a real estate license, had a notary license, had a bail bond license. So it was a lot of different things that I could help the community with. So that was kind of my journey in the bail bond business. I started working, like I said, minimum wage, and basically worked myself up to become manager, worked myself up to know the exact things that have to happen in bail. And then from there, go and start my own business. And this was my own business was in 2015 is when I started my own business. Been licensed since 1995 as a bail bondsman.
It's a long time.
Yeah, it's a long time. So I just actually, it's 30 years in February, 30 years. So I started when I was 10. So, it was.
Yeah, right?
Yeah. So that, and then, and of course, the good old pandemic.
Oh, yeah.
2020 pandemic happened. And actually, even prior to the pandemic, we had this one lady called Kamala Harris. You ever heard of her? She was a VP of the United States.
Okay.
And before that, she was the Attorney General for the state of California. And then she became a senator, and then she became the vice president. When she was the Attorney General, she was one of the persons that was trying to get rid of bail completely in the state of California. People were saying that they were being taken advantage of paying 10% to a bail bondsman. And the state started seeing that bail bondsmen were making pretty good money because remember, I'm a small bail bondsman writing 30 to 40 bonds a month. Over at Don's, we were probably writing like 100 bonds a month. But they started seeing that it was lucrative. Yeah. And the state kind of wanted to take that. Like anything that the state sees that it's lucrative, they wanted to do that. So we actually ended up lobbying Sacramento. They wanted to get rid of us completely. They wanted to go ahead and say, we don't need bail bondsmen. We can do it through the court system. Let me explain to you what bail, sometimes people don't understand bail. People think I get somebody out of jail, we're done. No, I get them out of jail and I guarantee the court system, the state of California, that person's going to come back to court each and every time that it's required in order for them to finish their case. Doesn't matter if they're guilty, not guilty. Doesn't matter if there's nothing charged. But I guarantee that they go back to court each and every time. They can go to court 1 time, 2 times, 10 times. They got to make each and every court appearance.
Can you explain a little bit about how you guarantee that, like what that means?
Usually how you guarantee that is you have to have somebody sign for you. So let's say, for example, somebody goes to jail. Somebody has to sign and say, I know Johnny, and I know Johnny's going to take care of going to court. Let me put my signature on those documents. And by the way, I own a business, been around for 10 years, and I own real estate, and I own cars. So I'm a secure bond. I'm going to secure this bond. And that's when we take that person's signature as a co-signers to secure the bond. If, for example, if you get a call and you say, somebody says, oh, I want to write $1 million bond and I have the $100,000, that's 10%, which is normal standard, but you have no security, you're underwriting that bond. You need a guarantee that that person will show up. So you got 100,000 today, but it could cost you $1 million tomorrow, because if the guy skips,
Yeah.
the bail bondsman is liable for the full amount of the bond.
Ooh.
So if somebody were to take off, so that's why people have to sign for you. Other important thing, obviously, of what's going on, especially right now in 2025, is the person legal? Is the person going to come back? What's the likelihood, the risk factor of this guy not coming back?
Ouch.
What is the likelihood of this guy getting out, saying I'm out, going back to Mexico, going back to El Salvador, going back to Guatemala, wherever he's from, Canada, wherever the hell he's from. Even if he's a white guy, if he's like, I'm running from California, I'm going back to Tennessee, or I'm going back to, Montana. You got to get that guy back from Montana or Tennessee or Guatemala or whatever, back to court. Otherwise, you, Mr. Bail Bondsman, owe us the money. That's what people don't understand. And oh, you just get them out of jail. No, we get them out of jail. We make sure they go to court, and we make sure that they make the appearance until the case is decided. The magic word in bail is until the case is exonerated. Fancy word to say case is closed.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of things in the bail business. People think, oh, I can get a bail license, and I know. No, you need to be able to know how to write bail, because if you don't, you could be in trouble. Because if you don't write a good bail, it costs you in the long run.
Cost you a ton of money. Your life.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
So that happens.
that's the bail bond side. There's a lot more, right?
No, but so your story.
Yeah. In between all this, I heard of this chamber. I had never heard of chambers. I heard about this chamber that was all, about Hispanics. I'm like, the Orange County Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. Let me go check it out. So they had a meeting, and I show up. Didn't know anybody in the room. Showed up, and I was like looking around, talking to people. Went downstairs. There was upstairs. Went downstairs, and I said, "Here, it's $300. I want to join. See what this turns into." So I was at the Orange County Hispanic Bar Association, and obviously I was the only bail bondsman. And I wasn't going to share it with any other bail agents that I knew. Oh, by the way, I was also the president of the Orange County Bail Association for like 6 years.
That's nice.
So I knew other bail bondsmen. Bail bondsmen knew me. When people had issues with bail bondsmen, they would come to me and so forth like that. So started going to the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. Guess what? People that are in the chamber have businesses, they have employees, they have friends, they have relatives that get in trouble.
Yeah.
I always give people a card, and they were like, oh, I'm not going to ever need this. And then next thing you know, they call me because their neighbor, their buddy, their son, their kid, their whatever is in trouble. Met a lot of people, made a lot of connections. 2017 comes around. They make me ambassador of the year.
Nice.
Ambassadors, people that are out in the community, making those connections and bringing those connections to the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. I'm doing what I'm doing with the chamber, and it hits me that a lot of people that knew me said to me, how come the chamber doesn't do anything in Spanish? And I'm like, you're right, we don't do anything in Spanish, and we're the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. Well, and I started asking people to join, and people would not join. They said, no, I don't want to join because you guys don't do anything in Spanish. Remember, 84% of Santana speak Spanish. So at that point, I left the chamber. I'll still go to their event. By the way, you don't have to be a member to go to the events. There's a lot of events that they put on that's open to the public. So at that point, I started OC Biz in English.
In 2017?
2020.
Okay.
2020. At that point, we started doing some events in English, started growing it a little bit, having 5, 6 people show up, 10 people show up, and so forth. And we had a pretty good following. We were doing a breakfast. We were doing stuff like that we used to do at the chamber, now under OC Biz. And about 2 years ago, 2023, we went to doing events in English and Spanish,
Nice.
more in Spanish, because we wanted to connect with the community here in Santa Ana and Orange County in Spanish. So I started to do events in Spanish, emceeing in Spanish, all the events in Spanish, most of the advertising in Spanish, to get people into networking in Spanish, because there's really no networking in Spanish in Orange County or LA County. It's growing a little bit, but we're a little bit behind. Yeah. So some of the tools that I learned at the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, I went ahead and put into OC Biz, which I then put into OC Biz Latino, which is what we're doing now. So that's kind of like full circle how we started OC Biz. In between all this, Christine, in 2020, November 2020, is when I started having some health issues. November, it was Veterans Day. I went to an event and I got COVID. Oof. And when I say I got COVID, I was those guys that got COVID, and I'm not supposed to be here.
Oh my goodness.
I got all the symptoms. The headaches, the runny nose, the diarrhea, the constant, everything that was said, everything that they said would happen with COVID, I got it. Everything. From early November till almost January, I was out of action.
And had you known you were underlying sick?
No. At this point? At that point, remember all this, going back to the bail bond business, all these sleepless nights, all the stress about answering my phone, keeping an eye on my phone when I'm sleeping, make sure I don't miss a call from an attorney or some client. It creates a lot of stress on your body. Mm-hmm. And then your eating habits become really bad because you're always eating out. You're always on the run. You're always going to fast food because you're going from one jail to another jail to a court. I mean, there was one day that I remember in the bail bond business that I started my day in Orange County, went to San Diego, then drove all the way up to I think Van Nuys in one day.
Oh, man.
Yeah. So it was like, okay, but you're like, cha-ching, cha-ching, cha-ching. But then that comes back to hurt you in the long run. So after COVID, I found out that I knew I was diabetic, like most of the Hispanics that we know are diabetic. And the diabetes was part of the reason that I was also had the biggest, I guess, symptoms of COVID. So in reality, I shouldn't even be here.
No.
Because COVID should have taken me out. So I finally recovered from COVID. I'm going to say February or so. August of 2022, my gallbladder basically explodes. My gallbladder basically is...
It's excruciating pain all of a sudden.
Excruciating pain. Those are toxins in your body that are basically going to kill you if you don't go to the hospital immediately. They rushed me to the hospital. They do their surgery for the gallbladder. They said they brought me back a couple of times. I don't know what that means. And after my gallbladder surgery, I'm in the hospital for another 5 to 6 days. Mind you that in 50 years of my life, 48 years of my life, I had never gone to the hospital.
No way.
Never. I had never broken a bone, never been there for nothing.
It was the Hispanic remedies, right?
Yeah, nothing. And so I get out of surgery for gallbladder. Doctor comes in and says, oh, by the way, your kidneys are at 30%. I'm like, what? He goes, yeah. He goes, you've had diabetes. You've never really taken care of it. You've blood sugars all over the place. He goes, and this gallbladder thing, that really messed you up. Okay. So I got 30%. He goes, yeah, you have 30%. You're going to eventually need to go on dialysis. You hear that word dialysis and you're like, oh,
A life sentence, kind
yeah.
of. Yeah.
You hear that word dialysis and you're like, wow. So I'm going to say after that, October of 22, I went on dialysis almost 6 months later.
Mm.
Dialysis, you sit in the chair for about 3.5 hours, 3 times a week. They put these needles in you. First, they got to put a thing in your arm, which I actually just had it taken out. You can see that.
Yeah.
Put a thing in your arm. And the first one actually they do is they put it on your neck. And it goes right here. And then they put it in and it goes, something goes to your heart, whatever it is. Anyways,
Inside?
no, it's outside. It's outside. You can't swim. You can't, you got to keep it dry. It's nothing I would ever wish on anybody at all. On dialysis, and at that point they're like, you'll be on dialysis, and we'll put you on the list for a transplant. I'm like, okay. So I was on dialysis for about a year and 8 months.
And
People didn't see me. I was still networking. I was still working. I was still out there Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Sundays. If people didn't notice, you wouldn't see me Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, because those were the days I was at dialysis. 3.5 hours, which in reality was cool because I actually was able to take 3.5 hours of my time, my day, to study some stuff, learn some social media, learn about different things that would help me grow my social media. So I took advantage of that. When they finally say to me, hey, you're on dialysis, you're taking care of yourself, you're doing really well, we're going to put you on the list for transplants. Now, my social worker at that point said, people normally are on the list. Minimum is 4 years to 10 years. So you'll be on dialysis 4 to 10 years before you get a transplant, because there's a big backlog of people ahead of you that are on this list that you're going to be behind. But the great thing, Luis, is that you're on the list. I'm like, okay, cool. Then she started mentioning to me, you have the ability to go live in Kansas. You have the ability to go live in, was Kansas or Tennessee? I said, why? I said, well, Kansas or Tennessee, their wait time is like a year. And I'm like, dude, do I have to buy something in Kansas or Tennessee? Because I could buy something. And they're like, no, you just move out there, go rent an apartment or whatever out there and get on the list for them. It'll take you 60 days to be on the list. Once you're in 60 days, they'll be able to put you on the transplant list, and it'll take about a year. I was like, yeah, I think I'm gonna do that. So they put me on the list. I'm at an event in San Juan Capistrano, an evening event. This is on December 18th, 2023.
Mhm.
And I'm at a Mexican consulate event, having fun. By the way, dialysis really drains you. It takes over your body. I compare it to basically, somebody has, maybe not as serious, but somebody has cancer and they get radiation and so forth. That's how draining it is on your body, because you'll come out sometimes and you'll have nausea, you'll have, you'll vomit. And it's recommended that after you get out of dialysis, you go home and you rest. And I'm not that kind of guy to rest. So, like I said, I was still doing stuff Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and I'm at an event. I see my phone ringing, and I'm having such a great time at this event that I said, "Hey, if it's a bail call, I'll answer it later. If they need to leave the information on there, they'll leave the information. I'll call." But the phone kept ringing and ringing and ringing. I think it rang like 6 different times, which is kind of rare. So I go pick it up on the sixth time, and it's my transplant surgeon. Mind you, that I was on this list for 31 days. 3-1. Not 4 to 10 years, 31 days. He calls me. He goes, "Hey, is this Luis?" I go, "Yeah, what's up?" He's like, "Oh, this is your surgeon, Dr. Reddy." Love that guy, by the way. Dr. Reddy's really
Ready?
cool. Dr. Reddy, that's his name. Reedy. Coolest guy, coolest surgeon. Every time I used to go in there, I still see him I think I see him now every 3 months. Every time I go in there, we talk sports, we crack it up. It's really cool guy, really cool guy. We really hit it off. Really, really cool guy. And he follows me on social media. He's like, "Dude, it looks like you're back to doing everything plus more." I'm like, "Dude, that's just the way I do it." He's like, "Yeah, good for you, man. I'm glad." So Dr. Reddy called me and he says, "Hey, there's this guy, Hispanic guy up north, Northern California, that just passed away. He's a donor. His kidney is an exact match to you.
Now,
We
how
have his
rare
kidney."
is that?
That's amazing. I'm blessed. His kidney and his liver are on an airplane right now from
No.
Northern California to UCI. Kidneys for you, livers for some other guy. Next words, I will never forget what he said. "Get your ass over to UCI right now."
Oh, wow.
That's what he said to me. I
Oh.
had never met the guy, but I liked the guy already. I get to UCI Med at 8:30.
Mhm.
They prep me. The next day at 6 a.m., they do the transplant. 14-hour procedure. If you guys go on my Instagram, you'll see I have a video that I have pinned, and it shows how it cuts. They put the kidney right here. I have it right here. They cut it, you open like in all these different ways, and then they hook up everything to the old kidneys. That's another thing. I just ran into somebody this week, and they said, "Oh, so you only have one kidney, Luis?" I'm like, "No, I have three." And she's like, "Whatever." I do. They don't take the old ones out because the old ones
Help the
are
new.
now raisins. Remember, kidneys are filters. They filter the toxins in your body. And when they become raisins, they're no good anymore. So all they do is hook up everything here. They cut you open here, put that new one that you got, not the new one, it's a recycled part.
Yeah.
They put that one in, yeah. And then they hook everything up to the all the stuff, whatever you arteries and veins and whatever you got going on, they hook it up all there. And that's how you get a new kidney. Number one thing that they have to do in order for you to leave the hospital is you have to be able to urinate and go number two. I urinated and went number two like in one day.
Louise, you looked amazing right after your surgery.
Well, yeah, because I
And
wasn't looking that
before your
great. Remember, I
surgery?
had that grayish look, like,
Yeah.
yeah, like, and a lot of people like didn't notice it, but a lot of people did, and I think a lot of people didn't want to tell me.
It, I will tell you because I remember seeing you. Honestly, it wasn't there until like right before, right
Right?
before the surgery. That gray look like wasn't on you the whole time you
Yeah.
did this. I had no
Well,
idea.
imagine your body being forced to go through dialysis, and in 3 hours, you're basically cleaning out your body, which would actually be 1 week of your actual kidneys doing that in 3.5 hours.
That's a lot.
That's what happens. So that's part of it. And by the way, having I'm okay with needles though,
Yeah.
because they put needles in you every single time you went to dialysis. Every single time. You put one here, they put one. I mean, it was like, "Oh yeah, I'm here. Look it up." All right. It was like one of those things.
Yeah, you're the only one that's like, I'm here. Let's go.
Let's go. Let's go. Let's do this.
What are you waiting for?
And that's one of the other things too that I think I just did a grand opening for a restaurant, and the gentleman there is having some complication. He's having some. He's actually on cancer. He has cancer, and he goes to chemo and radiation. And I talked to him the other day when we had the grand opening. We took some time and we talked, and he says, "I feel great. I got to look at life as I'm great. I'm fine. I'm going to survive this. Everything's going to be cool." And that's the way I was approaching it. I wasn't like, "Oh, I'm down. I'm depressed." No. We're going to surpass this. We're going to get to that where we need to get to. We're going to make it, and we're going to be okay. Everything is going to be okay. It's going to take some time. It's not going to be as fast as you want. It's going to be on that guy's schedule, not my schedule. And that's what a lot of people sometimes have problems with is it's my schedule, my time. I'm going to set this up. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. Mm-mm. It's his. You got to decide what you want to do. I always ask people when I meet them, I go, do you think that everything has already been, your destiny has already been set up? Or do you control some of your destiny? Did God already say, this is what's going to happen to Luis? Or do you control them? Think about it. If I would have taken care of myself, not been diabetic, I don't know if you knew this, Christine. I was like 240 pounds.
No.
I was 240 pounds. I wore double X shirts. This is a large. Sometimes I try to squeeze into a medium, you know. Sometimes I try to squeeze into a medium, but this is a large. I had, I think it was 40-inch waist.
You just
I'm a 32-inch waist right now. 240 pounds. I weigh 180 pounds. So 182, that's 60 pounds.
you lost a person.
I lost almost a person. I lost a midget. But it's one of those things. Is it, or is it, is your destiny set, or do you control it? I honestly believe you control it, and it's your attitude, your way of thinking, smiling at life. You know, yes, you could be going through a lot, but you know what? There's people in worse situations. Think about it. There's people that are going through other things. I always said there's people that are going through cancer and they have fourth stage cancer. They're not going to survive. They're not going to. I've just got dialysis. I need to get that kidney. Once I get that kidney, dude, we're good. So that's when you started seeing that color back. People would tell me, "You've been to the beach?" I'm like, "No, dude, I just got a new kidney." That's what it is.
Immediately
Yeah,
after.
it worked out pretty good. Funny thing was when I was in the hospital, like 2 days later, they brought me a walker, and they look the old man walker,
Yeah.
and I'm like, "What do I need that for?" They're like, "Oh, you're gonna need this. You're gonna need to learn how to walk again." And I'm like, "What?" So I'm like, get to the edge of the bed, and I'm like, get on it, and my legs go. So,
No.
so I started walking around the hospital, and and of course I had to go home. Lucky for me, I was still, when I got my kidney, I was 50 years old. That's considered young because a lot of the patients in dialysis are in their 70s or 80s, and
Yeah.
it's really difficult for them to survive a transplant, to be able to walk again, to be able to get back on their feet. So unfortunately, a lot of them also don't take the effort of
To move.
to move or to actually do something to help them get to that next level. When I say that is, when I was on dialysis, I couldn't drink any water. Now they want me to drink eight of these a day. But before, I could have, I believe, a quarter of this a day because they were taking out toxins and liquid out of my body. So I couldn't even have water. I
You
couldn't have,
were instructed to only
yeah,
drink that much a day?
no, you couldn't
What if you're
because
thirsty?
I couldn't have salad, which I'm not a big salad guy anyways, because salad has water in it. I
Yeah.
could have watermelon that has too much water in because the drainage was coming out of your body, and you would get blown up. Your body would start to, start to swell. So no water. I'm Mexican, no tortillas, no beans. So there was a list of stuff that I couldn't eat, and I had to watch everything that had obviously too many carbs, too much phosphorus, not any salt in my diet.
Oh,
Very it,
miserable.
it was it was bad. I could only eat certain things. But if I did it, they wouldn't put me on the list. And that's what happens with older people that are still there. Because if they're in their 70s or 80s, they're like, I know a friend of mine, her mom's been on dialysis before I was on dialysis. And she's still on dialysis now, but she's not following the regimen of the diet. So she's never going to get on the list because the doctors are going to be like, why are we going to give her a kidney when she's not going to take care of it? When she hasn't taken the initiative to do the medication, I'm sorry, the nutrition, why are we going to give her a kidney? We're wasting a kidney on this person. So that's also a big thing in dialysis. Why are people on dialysis a long time? Lucky for me, it was an exact match. Hispanic guy, from what I heard, same age. And I told you the other day, I think, Christine, I told you, this guy must have loved fish tacos because after I got this kidney, every time I go to a restaurant, I'm like, you guys got fish tacos? And I didn't like fish tacos before. But
No.
this guy must have loved fish tacos because every time I go to a restaurant, I'm like, you got fish tacos? It's like, yeah. No, I would never have fish tacos. Anyways, but that's one of those things. And so I was very, very, people say lucky. I was not lucky. I was blessed. I was blessed. And it was one of these things that when I go sometimes back to UCI, which big shout out to UCI, doing great things here in the community, helping people out. And sometimes I'm in a room with there's more people that have had transplants, and I start hearing, how long did you wait? 4 years. How long did you wait? 6 years, 8 years, 4 years. And then they come to me and I'm like, 31 days? And they're like, what? And the next question is, who'd you pay? Or who do you know? I didn't pay anybody. I don't know anybody. I just followed the regimen they told me to, got on the list, and luckily I was blessed to get this kidney from this guy that was an exact match. And even the Dr. Reddy said, I normally don't do this. I normally don't bump you up to that list, but he goes, this is your kidney. This is the same exact match, which was awesome. The other thing that was so cool too is after I got my kidney, I had like 3 or 4 different people that were my followers on Instagram or Facebook that reached out to me and were going through the same process. And they asked me how I was able to lower my liquid content, get my numbers up, and so forth. So I gave them some tips. And a couple of them have actually called me back or sent me messages going, hey, Luis, I'm getting my kidney. Wish me luck, which is awesome. Which is really awesome. People I didn't even know. Of course, Christine and I have a pretty big following on Instagram and Facebook, but people that actually were going through stuff like this. And it was amazing when I was going through dialysis because I would go to different places, and this dialysis thing is a big thing. If you guys think about it, look at all these places. You've got DaVita everywhere.
Yeah.
These guys these hospitals, DaVitas, they make tons of money. And by the way, if you're not familiar with the cost of a kidney transplant, it's about $450,000. Covered. If you have no insurance, it's covered by the state of California Medi-Cal, thank God. And these procedures are saving lives. And a lot of people, when you ask them, would you be a donor, don't want to be a donor. And that's also the biggest thing in our community. Hispanics are not donors, and Hispanics are the ones that need it the most. Asians are not donors. They will not donate. Religious issues or stuff like that. And we have the biggest need in California than any other state for transplants of kidney, liver. You could do heart transplant. I just ran into somebody, that same event we were at on Friday, Christine. Somebody there said he's waiting on a heart transplant.
Oh, on a heart?
Heart transplant, yeah. Nowadays, they can do corneas. They can, how people sometimes have those veins. They can do vein transplants. I think I have a whole layout of, I researched everything because I had so much time when I was doing 3.5 hours of dialysis that I was filling my brain with information about how I could get to that transplant. And I think that's one of those things that I've got that I always think that that Mamba mentality of learning and understanding. I might not know all of it, but I know enough to get it done. Do I know how to change the oil in my car? I do. Do I know how to change a tire? I do. Do I know how to change an engine out of my car? I don't. But I know enough to understand what I need. Do I know enough about the court procedures? Yes. My attorney? No. But do I know enough to help you out with that? Do I know enough for a real estate transaction? Of course I do. Do I know enough for a notary transaction? Of course I have notaries. I'm not a notary. After 2020, I did renew my notary. I have notaries now that call me and ask me, hey, how do you do this notary? And I haven't been a notary for almost 5 years, dude. And it's like, but I'm helping them do it because I have enough information. So it's important to know everything, even in the transplant. I didn't know all these numbers. I didn't know all these people. I have, like I said, a thing where it shows how many people are dying every month for not getting the transplant, how many people are surviving, how many people are actually helping out. And like I said, California is the #1 state where we don't have enough transplants. We don't have enough people on there. People don't know that if you have 2 healthy kidneys, you could actually donate one of those kidneys to somebody and live a healthy life with 1 kidney. People don't know that.
No.
People don't know that you can actually bank your kidney. So if you're a type A, your blood type, Christine, and you give me your kidney and I'm a type B, that's okay. We'll bank yours into type A, and then we'll ask for somebody who's a type B to give it to me, and type A will go to someone else. People don't know that.
No. So
There's a big need to bring this information to the community because there's a big need for information, whether it be in English or Spanish or Vietnamese, about how people should be signing up to be donors for California donor.gov or something like that. You go on there, you register as a donor. You can register when you go to the DMV. There's so much need that, like I said, now think about this. People are going to say, the typical, especially Hispanics will say, oh, no, I don't want to give anybody my kidney. Dude, you're dead.
you're
You
not
have a,
it.
if you're a healthy person with a good kidney or 2 good kidneys, you could save some lives. One person that's completely healthy and unfortunately dies in an accident or dies in some kind of tragedy, I believe the number is you can help out 42 people by donating heart, kidneys, liver, corneas, all that stuff. You can, one good, healthy person can help 42 people. And to see if you're able to actually be a donor. I believe out of 100 donors, only about a 10%, 10 are actually candidates to be donors.
That's small.
If you have diabetes, you have high blood pressure, things like that, you'll be
Those things
disqualified.
eliminate you.
Yeah, you'll be disqualified because, so they won't let you do it. So when I was going through my process, a couple of people stepped up to me and said, hey, if you need a kidney, I'll be glad to donate. I think, Christine, I think you said you would donate to me.
Yeah.
And I appreciate that. Thank you. But you go through this process, and some of the people that I said, thank you very much. I knew they had diabetes. I knew they had, certain things. I had an offer from a friend of ours, who he is, that he's a big cannabis smoker, and he agreed to also be a donor. And I said, I don't know if I want to be on weed after I get your kidney, so no thanks.
Already anticipating picking up the habit. Okay.
It wouldn't be fish tacos, it'd be weed. I'm craving weed. But it's interesting information, and I've always after I had my kidney transplant, I know I did it like a couple of weeks after I went on my podcast and I talked about kidneys and stuff like that. Maybe I'll do it again. The other thing is, once you do get a transplant, whether it be heart, kidney, liver, you have to be on anti-rejection medication for the rest of your life.
What does that feel like? What are the complications?
The anti-rejection medication, basically, your body is built so well. God built our body so well that when something is put into your body that is not part of your body, the first thing your body was going to do is try to attack it and kill it. So when they put a kidney in me, my body's going to try to kill it because that's not me. That's not my part. So that's why you have to have this rejection medication for the rest of your life. And that's for any kind of transplant. And they're kind of like steroids and stuff like that. So they help you in a way. They help you get back on your feet, start to grow a little bit more muscle and stuff like that. But it's one of those things that people don't also know, that you'll be on that medication for the rest of your life. If you don't take it, your body's going to reject it. Your body's going to kill that organ. You're going to need another one.
So that's another reason the screening is good, watching people before, they get accepted, because who knows if someone's not doing what they're supposed to do or they miss that medication.
Yeah.
Oh,
And there's been stories. Like I said, made a really good friendship with Dr. Reddy. He told me a couple of times about a lady that got pregnant and somebody told her after a transplant, told her, hey, uh, it's going to affect the child. So she stopped taking it, had the child, needed a new kidney because she didn't take her anti rejection medication. So she ended up on dialysis again. She's waiting on the list again, but she has a baby. She's going back on the list. And now the thing is, since she was not responsible the first time, will the doctors be cool with this person getting another chance? Because they check you out completely when you go in for the transplant. I mean, once you get accepted, I had to go this one place. They put me on a treadmill. They had me run. They checked my heart. They had me go up and down stairs. And they're like, "You okay?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm fine. I'm not in the greatest shape, but I was able to go up and down and no problem." And if they see that there's an issue, you might have an issue when you go get that transplant too. So they don't want somebody with a bad heart getting a transplant and dying there while you're getting the transplant. So there's a lot of things. There's a lot of things that got to come together to become a successful transplant recipient. It's very interesting.
It's very cool that that's what you are now.
Yeah, I know. I have I have it on my calendar. My used part. It's a used part. I have a used part in my body. Just like I said, you said, Christine, this is about story about me. I mean, I've got a good story. I actually, while I was in the hospital, started maybe writing a couple of things to write a book about my life because I was like, I've been through so much, and not because I want to talk to people about so much. I want to talk about adversity and overcoming certain things. Overcoming being an immigrant. I was brought here when I was 2 years old. My parents brought me when I was 2 years old, and I learned English, and eventually go through the whole process of going to elementary school in Santa Ana, intermediate school in Santa Ana, high school in Santa Ana College, and so forth. So it's interesting because at that point you're like, man, I was just talking to my mom about this the other day. I said, hey mom, where would it be if you didn't think about coming to this country 50 years ago? And she's like, I have no idea. You know, I have no idea. So it's interesting, and I empathize with the people that are going through the process right now with all the stuff that's going on in our country about people that are being taken out of this country where it's like, come on, man, we can create some great stuff here. We can do some good stuff. You guys love our food. Why not? Leave us here, right?
Your family have family when they came over here, or did they just your mom and dad come with you and
the
just
the way my parents came is my grandfather was in the Bracero program. I don't know if you're familiar with the Bracero program. The Bracero program was when World War II, all of the Americans were in fighting the war, right?
Mhm.
The United States of America needed workers to work the fields and the jobs here because there was not enough people working. So they went to Mexico and they legally brought people here to work the fields. And then once the season of that fruit or whatever it was over with, they would go back. Well, some of them didn't go back. So my grandpa, he didn't go back. He stayed here after he did his run with the fields and stuff. And then he got a job at a place that was actually growing all the trees for all the parks back in the 70s. So they actually had this big place where they grew palm trees, fiscus trees, whatever, any kind of trees you can think of. And he was legally here because they gave him a document allowing him to work any kind of job with agriculture. My grandfather went back to Mexico, talked to my dad, and said, hey, they're looking for people in the United States. Why don't you come check it out? Come over, not legal, come over, get a job, and see if it works out for you. Came over, got a job with my grandfather. Uh, then the employer went ahead and granted him a permit, which allowed him to stay and work any agricultural work. About maybe 3 years into it, he said for me and my mom. And me and my mom came. Not legal either. Illegally. My mom, I don't know how she made it over. I was put in a car with a lady that's an interesting story too. I was put in a car with the lady that my mom met for 30 minutes.
No.
And said, here's a 2-year-old kid, their only 2-year-old kid, me, cross them over the border, and I'll see you when I get over myself. Would you do that? I don't think I would do that.
You got to admit, it was a different time. There was a time there was a lot of trust and in cultures and communities. Yeah. And so if your mom did that with someone in her culture, in her community, that, you know, I get that.
1974, $300 to get me across the border. Yeah. And I think my mom was 500. Not across, she didn't come in she had to actually run through some desert or whatever she had to do. Different times, obviously, different places, not the same thing. So then we came to this country. My father continued to work there. He made really good money at this agriculture job. Right before the Ronald Reagan did the amnesty program, everybody that worked any agricultural job, whether it be picking strawberries, whether it be picking cherries, whatever kind of fruit, or agriculture work like the one my dad and my grandfather were doing, which is like, if you think about it, it's really hard labor. Yeah. We got our documents before the amnesty program. We were legalized to be in this country. So after I got my permit and I was here at amnesty, I had my, back in the day, the green card. I didn't become a citizen of this country till probably in 2000.
No way.
Yeah, I became a citizen. I was a legal resident alien. I hate that word, by the way. So I was able to go to Mexico and come back, no problem, but I wasn't a citizen. Funny story, when I went to do they do an interview for you when you become a citizen. And it was an Asian guy. And the Asian guy interviewed me and asked me my name, my date of birth, answered everything in English. And he asked me who the president was. And I told him it was, I told him a funny name. I think I said Mickey Mouse or something like that. Oh, Mickey Mouse. And he started laughing his ass off. And he goes, you funny. Snaps it and goes, all right, you're done. I probably spoke better English than that guy. And then he's interviewing me to be a citizen. But anyways, yeah, it's been a journey. It's been a journey. Definitely.
Tell me a little bit more about OC Biz and what you're doing now.
So OC Biz now, we've got the 3 C's. The 3 C's are connections, collaborations, and community. So connections obviously is connecting with different people. I always tell people when you go networking and there's 100 people in the room, connect with one person. You don't have to connect with all 100. You might meet them, you might shake their hands, but if you leave with one really good connection there, you've done what networking is all about. And then the whole point is to follow up. The famous FU, follow up. That's the biggest thing. Follow up, lunch, coffee, whatever, and see if you guys could collaborate, or if maybe he has somebody you can collaborate with. And what is that? The connection and the collaboration will then turn into what's a community. You'll have a community where people can now at that point go, oh, you need a bail bondsman? That guy. Oh, you need a plumber? Oh, he's good. Oh, I've used that guy. So that's what OC Biz is. We bring people together, whether it be in Spanish, whether it be in English, and we make connections. You know, people come in, people reach out to me on social media. Hey, I see you're doing this, you're doing that. And can you help me with this? I helped somebody this morning with a mariachi. Do you have a mariachi? Here's 2. Do you have somebody that can help me do this? You know, certain things like that. I mean, my neighbor came over the other day and they're like, hey, you have somebody who can help me with my pool. And at that point I did. Remember I told you I was working on my pool today? But I said, yeah, this guy, he's pretty good. So yeah, connections, connecting people. And then, Christine, also that I enjoy being involved in the community, helping out. That's another thing that I enjoy is helping out. My biggest thing is helping the kids out. So I'm an ambassador for a couple of different organizations. I'm an ambassador for AISS, which is a great program that gets STEM students, Hispanic and Asian STEM students into top colleges. Most of these kids are from Santa Ana Unified. I'm an ambassador for Media Arts Santa Ana. We do a film festival every year here in Santa Ana where we bring anywhere between 30 to 40 different films for people to see. Just ambassador for the Santa Ana Chamber of Commerce also. And, just different connections, different things. I sometimes people ask me, hey, can you help? And I just do it. I don't know if I ever told you the story about how I became a confirmation teacher. My two daughters, I have a 26-year-old, she's 26, 25-year-old, and a 24-year-old. And they were going to do their confirmation classes. And of course, I knew the secretary there. And of course, I knew the priest there. And I go sign them up. And they're like, hey, Luis, do you want to come and help be an assistant?
You want to help?
Yeah. I'll be an assistant. No problem. I'm like, yeah, I'm going to drop them off. I'm going to be gone like for 2 hours and I got to come back and get them. Why not? So I was an assistant. So 2 weeks in, I'm an assistant. This class, by the way, is a bilingual class, English and Spanish, for kids between the age of 14 to 18 years old. Perfect age, right? They all want to study. Yeah, right. They all want to listen to you. Yeah, right. They don't want anything to do with any adults. So I go in. This guy's a teacher, really nice guy. He was actually a realtor, believe it or not. And but he had a terrible, I'm not gonna say a terrible, he had an accent. And these kids, every time he would say something wrong, were laughing their ass off.
Oh.
And I'm ignoring it. I'm just looking down. So week 3, he don't show up. And I'm like, where's the teacher? I'm waiting for the teacher to show up, right? His name is Juan. Where the hell's Juan? Juan don't show up. In comes the priest.
Show up.
In comes the priest. And the priest is like, hey, Juan quit. I'm like, oh, okay. So we got another teacher coming in or what? I'm like looking around, right? He's like, you're the teacher. I'm like, what? I've never taught before. There's no way. These are high school kids, man. Come on. No way. I taught for 4 years.
No.
4 years. Everybody wanted to be in my class.
Oh, man.
Guess why everybody wanted to be in my class? I was the only teacher that wouldn't take their cell phone away when they walked into class. All the other teachers had a box that as soon as they walked in, they threw their cell phones in that box. The reason I didn't take it is because I taught my catechism, my confirmation, different. I said, the only thing you got to do with me here is be a good person, relate to me. We're going to talk about issues. And that's the one thing that once I became a teacher, I said, I wanted to meet the parents. And I said, we're going to talk about abortion. We're going to talk about different things here. Are you cool with this? Or do you want to put your kid in another class? And if you're cool with this, here, sign right here. You're cool with this. I had moms bringing me food. I had dads coming in and hugging me. I had the kids asking me to be their godfather for confirmation. Because the way I taught the class was not about read this and pray this and pray this and this and this and that. I showed them with examples on how to be a good Catholic, a good Christian. So the kids enjoyed their class. If they miss mass, which I would be like, you guys have to go to mass. If they miss mass, they would pull out their phone, pull up whatever mass was about the last week and read it over. And we would go around the room and say, how did that scripture ring you? Because everybody's going to have a different feeling of how that scripture is going to be read or different outcomes, how that's going to come out. Somebody might be going through this. Somebody might be going through that. It's going to be different for everybody. So glad to say I enjoyed it. It stopped in the pandemic in 2020. I still did a little bit on Zoom, but then after the pandemic, I stopped doing that. But it was a great experience. I still run into the lady that runs the catechism classes, and she's like, "Hey, you think you ever come back?" I said, "Too busy right now. I'm thinking I can come be an assistant, and then next thing you know, I'll be the teacher." Probably.
Yeah.
But it was a great experience. Saturday mornings, I could have stayed home and be in my warm bed. I would get up at 7:00. And the other thing the kids loved was I would go get them donuts or sweet bread. And that was it. I'd show up at 7:30, class started at 8, ended at 10. So it was really fulfilling to me to make that connection with my community and kids. And I saw a lot of kids that came in, not because of me, because they put themselves in that position to be better kids. And I noticed it. I mean, and some of the kids that wouldn't talk started talking. Some of the kids that didn't want to read would raise their hand and say, I want to read. And it amazed me that I had this little, we'll use the term cholo, little gangbanger, 15 years old, that the first couple of classes he walked in and he would put down his head on the desk, didn't want to get involved at all. Slowly but surely, he started to get more involved. And that kid, I would talk to him and go, hey, tell me about this. Spit it out just like that. And he would be the first one to raise his hand when I asked somebody to read something. If I wouldn't have been a bail bondsman, I think I would have been a teacher.
Can you see the other side of the coin where so many of those kids probably had no connections, even with their family or parents at home?
Yeah.
And for that one person to take the time to connect?
Yeah, and I think it was part of like opening up and having somebody to talk to. We had conversations. One time we had a conversation, we closed the door and we had a conversation, and a couple of the girls in our class, remember 15 to 18 years old, we were having an abortion conversation. And a couple of the girls started crying. Oh. And I don't know if that's because they had something or someone of their family members, or they were just impacted by that. But it was one of those really interesting and fulfilling classes where they left there, and I could tell that it was like a lot of people, like there was a kid in there that said he was addicted to porn. There was a kid in there that said that his dad would hit him. There's different things in that I learned from these kids, and nothing left that room. I told them nothing leaves this room. You're never going to point and say that kid did this, that kid did that. So it's interesting. This kid, the guy that was addicted to porn, he said he was like 6 years old the first time he saw porn. And we're talking about 15, 16-year-old kid now, 10 years. He said he saw porn on a daily basis. Yes. So it's, mental health. Yeah. Mental health is a big thing. Having that time to give those kids that time, having time to share with them, having time to, do certain things. A lot of the other things that I enjoy doing is maintaining our Hispanic traditions. I have a nonprofit in the works called OC Cat. Everything's OC, by the way. You know that, Christine. OC Cat stands for Cultura, Artes, Tradiciones. Culture, arts, and traditions. So OC Cat. The reason I thought about that is there's so much culture especially in Mexico. The folklore dancing, the mariachis, the Day of the Dead, the Day of the Wise Men. And if you've never been in Santa Ana on the Day of the Dead, we have people painting their faces that you're like, that guy's from Irvine, that guy's from Mission Viejo. He's in Santa Ana. His face is painted up like a Day of the Dead guy. So it's cultures, arts, and tradition. There's a lot of art too, poetry. There's a lot of stuff like that. I'm not big into doing that myself, but I'm big into saving those traditions, saving culture, saving art, saving traditions. And especially like when I was teaching confirmation, I talked to the kids. I go, you guys know what the three wise men are? No. My mom and dad, they have 2 jobs. They're never home. We never do that. We actually don't even, one of the kids that's like, we don't even celebrate Christmas anymore because my parents are always working because they got to make money for the rent. So I said to them, okay, don't go to mass, but make sure you do something with the 3 wise men. Take a picture with your phone. The phone that the other classes were taking away. Use your phone to take pictures of the rosca. And doing this with your family. Go tell your mom you want a rosca. These kids had never gone to 4th Street for the Day of the Dead. If you guys are not familiar with the Day of the Dead,
from Santa Ana?
It starts at 10 o'clock in the morning and it goes to 10 o'clock at night. So I told these kids, you have Saturday to go walk around, and check it out. Take pictures. And I want you to share those with me next time. And whoever brings the most pictures, I'm gonna give them a Starbucks card. You gotta give them incentives in order to them to be involved. So those are the traditions that people are losing. People are losing those kinds of traditions. Of course, food's a big tradition. Food, Mexican food, tamales and buñuelos. Of course, you got your tacos and all that stuff. But that's a big, big thing. And if you look at it, this country, the number one food in the United States of America is Mexican food. So
Great.
we're in here no matter what. So it's a lot of things that kind of like I enjoy doing in the community, like connecting people, collaborating with people, and doing community work.
I love it. Where can people find you?
You can go to right there, luismier.com. On luismier.com, you'll see links. Also, I'm a commissioner for the city of Santa Ana. I was appointed by the mayor of Santa Ana, Mrs. Valerie Amesqua. And I'm a commissioner on the rentals. So if somebody gets their rent hiked up too much, they go to us. There's a hearing, and we make recommendations to city council on what should be done on that. Where we help people with some rent issues when we look at the renters or the landlords' issues when they have about raising rents and some different issues there. So I'm glad to be also part of that team here in the city of Santa Ana. Two-time president, now past president of Kiwanis Club of Santa Ana, which has been around Santa Ana for 104 years. So we do some great events with kids. We had our picnic. We have our Target shopping. We have different things that we do. So concentrating 100% on helping kids here in Santa Ana. So a lot of involvement in the community. Like I said, it becomes one of those things that the reason also that we're also always on social media is I try to make it contagious for other people to want to come and do stuff like that. So we want to have people that are maybe kind of wanting to do it, maybe want to come and do that. I do some community service.
Like-minded people.
Yes. Yeah. So back to that, luismier.com. That's why I wear the shirt for you. And on there, you'll see the links to the bail bonds, the real estate, OC Biz.
So
now you know my whole story.
No, that's amazing. I love it.
But yeah, that's really about it. I mean, other than that, we're here.
OC Biz.
OC Biz. Yeah, let me know.
One more time.
Look us up. Look us up. Like I said, the best way is to go to luismier.com and you can see the different links, and then you're interested in OC Biz, real estate, whatever. So go on there and take a look and reach out to me. Let me know how we can connect, how we can collaborate, and hopefully form a community.
Yay! Your tagline's better than mine. Thank you so much, Luis.
Thank you, Christine.